there are and can be immigration consequences for all of those actions when it comes to a foreign national. So I work very closely with employment attorneys when these actions happen, because if they're doing a massive layoff, obviously you've got US employees, but you've also got some foreign nationals linked in there. So I work very closely with employment attorneys to make sure that everybody's handled properly. The federal government will also audit a company in a minute when it comes to immigration laws. So several different government agencies interact when it comes to employment-based immigration. The Department of Labor is one company that will come in. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they are the enforcement arm. So if there is a coordinated raid throughout the country, ICE will most definitely be a part of that, and they will work oftentimes with local and county law enforcement to make that happen. The Office of Special Counsel under the Department of Justice looks at whether or not a company has knowingly or perhaps unknowingly discriminated against an applicant or an employee based upon their immigration status. And that can happen in terms of hiring, termination, promotions, demotion, benefit reductions. That can happen anywhere in that life cycle. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which is an agency that I used to work for, they want to make sure that the employee is doing the work that you said they were going to be doing. So if you hired an employee to be a software developer, but now somehow you've managed to put them in an architect role, but you haven't gone through that middle step of going through the government, that's a problem. And if they find out about it, they will absolutely go in and start asking a lot of questions. And they also want to make sure that you haven't committed fraud in your immigration petitions. And the Immigration Service can and will pull petitions and revoke prior approval notices. So then you're looking at employees that no longer have the right to work for you, and from a business standpoint, that is also an economic hit to the company. The Department of State will come in and make sure that the employee is doing what they said they were going to do. The Department of State will look at whether or not someone potentially committed fraud on their visa application. And that is something that we certainly do not want to support. So no one wants to go through an audit alone. I don't care who you are, audits are scary. So I can work with a company and liaise between the company and whatever the auditing agency is, and to help you go through the audit as smoothly as possible. So I can also help mitigate some of your fines potentially, and just really be that kind of liaison. Sometimes it depends on the type of visa category that you are working with. So if you're working with certain visa categories, you can be barred from using that visa category for X number of years after the investigation is over and done with. Sometimes the penalties are monetary penalties when we're talking about the I-9s and knowingly hiring individuals that you know are not authorized to work. In addition to the monetary penalties, you can be slapped with a suit for harboring illegal aliens, and you can go to jail. So using the excuse of, oh, I didn't know, just doesn't work today.
Nothing major.
Yeah, you can absolutely be fined and or sent to jail. Or some of the penalties are simply monetary. It really just depends on what the offense is, how many times you've done it, whether or not they think you've done it knowingly, and that's where nobody likes to go through an audit by themselves. Audits can quickly spiral out of